Okay guys, so before we go any further with our project, I wanted to go back to Git to because somebody asked in comments if I have my repo, and I don't, because I just kept pushing it away, and I think it's a high time to get that somewhere that you can download and continue working with me from whatever you want to start. And unfortunately, we won't be able to do it up until now, but from now on, every tutorial will be available as a branch in my GitHub repo. So okay, let's start from the beginning. What is Git? Git sounds, and I remember when I learned Git for the first time, I was like, Jesus, what is this? First of all, I had to use command line. Well, I could use command line for to move my files and commit my files through Git. And I felt like it's very like new level of stuff, and it really isn't. It's just new and it's confusing because we kind of know what it does, but it has those new features that we need to learn. And you just need to learn what those features are, and then when you know it, you're comfortable with using it. So it's basically Git is this place where you store your code, and not only you store it there, but you keep versions of your code. So whenever you commit a change, that change becomes a version of your code, and you want to go back in your code if you want, kind of like you have this save point where you can go back in time if you want to go back, or you can branch out if you don't want to change your main branch, and you can play around, see if your idea works, and if it does, you can merge it back into your main thread. So it's like a folder, like a super folder. Everything can be done without Git in certain way, but it gets messy and it requires more connection. If you collaborate, especially, it requires a lot of you need to keep track of what's going on. If you want to have like folders and rename them and give them names like branches, but obviously in the world of programming, we want to be as efficient as we can. And so Git is here to help us with it. Okay, so as you might remember, I did use Git for a while. A couple of times I did commit my changes. I did reverse some of the changes, and I had this messy situation with like between master and my detached head. And so I had to clean it up, but also I don't need to initialize my Git here. So if you do, first of all, let's check if I have my Git, and obviously I do because I used it already. If you just like type Git and press enter, if you get all those help page here, then it means you have Git installed. If you don't have it installed, just Google how to install Git on your operation system. If it's Mac, Linux, Windows, whatever, just Google. It should be easy enough. I'm not going to show it here. But then if you have it and you're in the folder that you want to track, so basically in my case, I want to be inside of Marek's portfolio folder. And if I pwd, I can see that I'm in PyCharm projects, Marek's portfolio. And that's where I want to be when I initialize my Git. So let's do git init. Okay. And in here you can see that I reinitialized existing Git repositories, which means like, okay, you had it already, so I'm there and nothing happened really. If I didn't have it there, it would initialize a Git repository in this folder. So that's Marek's portfolio /.git. And if I do ls-a, show me everything, I can see that Git folder is indeed in there, although I don't see it here. So this is just good to know. Okay, so what does it mean? It means that Git is now looking at my project. It's tracking it, and it's up to me, obviously, if I do a good job tracking it, but it is looking at this folder specifically. So if I, for example, go to, let's say, a folder accounts, let's say, so cd accounts, and I do git add all, it did add all. That's strange. On branch master, that is weird. I thought it wouldn't pick up that we have Git, but it's looking at this Git inside of Marek's portfolio folder, which is good to know. I wasn't aware that it's on. I suppose if I went up, so if I go cd up, and now did git status, it's going to see Git repository is not here. So there is nothing tracking this folder, which is PyCharm projects. But let's go back to cd Marek's portfolio, and what else can I do after git init? So before going any further than git init, I would like to talk about gitignore file. And you might remember I built a very short list here of files that I want to ignore when it comes to Git. And so what I did was I went to this place here and so that's Lee Han. So basically what I did was I Googled gitignore Django PyCharm because I'm doing a Django project and I'm using PyCharm. And I just went to the first link here, Lee Han. I'm not going to try to pronounce the surname. And I went to raw and just selected everything and copied that, which means I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get anything. I'm not going to collect and commit and push to my repository anything that I don't want to push, like PyCache or this SQLite 3 files and so on, IDEA for PyCharm and so on. There's a lot of stuff that, you know, can be created in the background that we don't really consider code. It's not necessary for the code for the project, but let's say PyCharm uses it for storing some metadata or whatever. We don't want that in our repo because that should be something that anyone can pick up with any other, you know, IDE or even without using IDE and start working on it. So go ahead. I'm gonna use that link. You can take my gitignore obviously, but I'm also gonna copy that link from Mr. Lee Han, and I'm gonna put it in the description. So create a .gitignore file inside of, so whatever the .git folder exists, right? If you do ls -a, you want to have .git and .gitignore folder. That's a folder, that's a file. You wanna keep them in the same place, okay? And so we have that done, and now you can do git add, and you can specify what you want to add. So you can specify one folder or one file, but you can also add everything. So whatever changes happened, just look at every single file that there is and see if we added it, changed it, or it's just not changed at all, and put it into this commit. So now I'm gonna do git commit, which is like save my state with some sort of a name or comment of that save or commit. And in this case, obviously there is no change that I made, so I can't do it. So if I just test comment, it's not going to allow me because there's nothing to commit. But let's say I'm going to go in my finances, let's say, and to go to views and just put a comment here. Let's say Marek is the best, which is very important comment. You should all have that comment in your code. And now I'm going to go ahead and git commit. And if I go, add and now commit with a comment stating that added most important piece of code yet. I think it describes my situation very well. You might have noticed that there is some message generated by Git saying that my kind of user has been auto-generated because of my OS. So they know my name is Marek Kubiak, they use the name of my station, but I can do it better. I can change the author here using git config, and I can put my email there. So it's a bit better than if you go to your commits, you can see exactly who did what. It can be linked to your GitHub account as well. So I'm gonna do it very quick here. So git config, git config, what was the last? So global edit, yes, copy this, and I'm gonna just paste it here. And so I am, okay, so that's my name and that's my email address, which is not the one that I want to use. I'm in Vim, so I'm gonna just press I for insert and just change that to sugar loaf and a cup of joe at gmail.com. Okay, and that makes more sense. Now escape to escape the insert mode, colon write WQ is write and quit. Okay, and now it knows that I'm this person. And in here, just keep in mind, if you want to change that, you can go and do git commit amend reset author. So that's going to amend my commit, right? So I'm going to just do that now. And so the last commit, I can change that here. Committer Marek Kubiak, can change that. And I'm not going to do that now, but you can change the last commit's email address here. So I'm going to just do colon Q for quit. So we know what git init does, git add, git commit, that's pretty easy. Now where the complexity starts, we can look at our git log and see that we have some of our commits here listed. So if you want to just sneak a peek what's going on somewhere else, you can go back to that point if you want. So here I have some master fixed, I have some cleanup here, and then there is this added most important piece of code, and I can see who did it and who's the what's the time stamp on it. So that's pretty useful. Let me just press Q to get out. And so what if I want to go back? What if I want to reverse all the last commit? I want to go one step back, which means I'm going to just delete this. But imagine you can you know, imagine you were working half a day and you're like, oh no, that was completely stupid, let me just go back, or at least go see if I can go back and if it's better. So let me start with this git check out, or maybe let's start with branch. So let me just create a branch called step back. Okay, so I created a branch. If I go to git branch, I'll see that I'm in master, there's something called newest, and there's step back. Okay, so to go there, I have to do git checkout. And if I did -b, basically what I would do is I would say, hey, create this branch and then check out to that branch. So it's like a one-liner instead of two lines, which in this case is like first I said create this, and now I say check out to step back. Okay, and now I'm in step back. Let me see git log again. So in this here, I still have my log, so I can see that I have the cleanup and so on. So I can go step back. So let me just copy this, and I know it's a step back because this is the head, this is where I am now, and I'm trying to, inside of step back, I want to go back to this commit. Okay, so let me press Q and do something like this. So there are two options. I can reset. So what happens is it's as if I didn't add and commit my changes. So the changes are still there, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's do git reset and then paste the ID of that commit. Enter, and what happens is we have some unstaged changes after the reset. And if I go here and look at my code, if you did notice, this green highlight here appeared because I went back to the old commit, and now this is not tracked, this is not committed yet, so it shows that this is a new line of code, and that's what PyCharm does. Here we can see that this is blue color, which means that it's an edited file. So previously we did commit it, but now we made a change to it. So we didn't really reverse our code, but we went back to the place commit wise, but the code is still there. If you want to get rid of the code and you want to just reverse to the stage of your code where you were at this commit here, you need to specify git reset -- hard, and just be careful, because if you do that, you reverse your code and you're there, and that's it. You that's why I created this branch here, because when I do this, boom, head is now at this commit. So if I go here and click, let the PyCharm update itself, you could see it disappeared. This is white now, so it's as if I just did the cleanup commit, and all the code that I wrote after, which was just that one comment here, but it could be a lot of code, is back to what it was then. Okay, and it's fine as long as I'm in this branch. If I go and do git checkout master, now I'm switched to master, and do git log, I can see that I'm still on added most important piece of code yet, and if I click here, it's back on. So it's pretty safe as long as you keep branching out for some major changes. And it's good when you're always on the branch, to be honest. In the future, when you're working on the code, you know, a major project with a couple of people, even if it's your own project, to be honest, if you're working alone, you know, every time you commit a change, you merge it to master, and then you branch out again and you make the changes on the kind of development branch instead of on the master branch, because you want to have that safe spot where you can go back to. But you also have the commits to go back to, so there are different levels of security there. And I hope this demo here shows you how that security is being achieved. Okay, so let's sign up to GitHub. Here, welcome to GitHub. Oh, that's nice. Enter your email address. So that's sugar loaf and a cup of joe @gmail.com. Then my password will be okay, and the username will be loaf and a cup of joe. Okay, and I do not want stuff there. And Spiral Galaxy. Cool. Okay, create an account. I need to now, okay, so that's the code. So I have my Gmail open on my other screen, so I'll just paste that in here. Can't paste that, I need to retype it. Okay, boom, and I'm in. You have a quick tutorial here, so I recommend going through it, start a project, learn how to use Github, definitely. I'm gonna skip that because I already know that, and I'm gonna create a new repository, and I'm gonna call it Marek's portfolio. That name is available. You can put a description here. I'll leave it public because I want people to be able to download it. I don't want to generate anything yet because I can pull it all from my from my project. And here is how you connect it. I did get in it. They say they want to create a README file. It is important. You need a proper README file for anyone to just like look at it and know what to do. But we don't want to do that yet. So let's start with this. So we did git init, git readme. Okay, so this is just because there's just one file there. And then we need to commit. We did commit. Then we change the branch name to main, and then we add this remote repo to our project. Before that, put a pin in it. One last thing for the setup, because it's important. Let me just do something like this. It's a Python project, so for every Python project you want to do something like this. Pip freeze arrow requirements.txt. Okay, and that creates a file here called requirements.txt, and as you can see it's red, so it's not being tracked. It's new, but it's not being tracked. And it just puts all the packages that we use, Python packages that we use for this project. So then whoever downloads or clones my project can just install those packages and be able to run it. Obviously that should be in README file, so maybe just to be on the right side, README is spelled with like, okay, MD, markdown language, and in this README file, do you want to add it? So see, if I add it using PyCharm GUI, it's green because it's added to Git. This one wasn't added because it didn't ask me if I want to add it, but I'm going to add it in just in a second using git add. But in here we can just write using MD language. We can create our documentation how to use this project. We can just say, you know, install all requirements, and then using this, for example, those ticks. And I'm not going to do Angular. No, I'm not going to do Angular, but I'm going to just say here pip install -r txt, and I'll just change that to sh because it's a shell. So I'm going to just leave that like that. And you see on the right side, it's being formatted. So if I put a hash in here or 2 hashes, then we have a nice header out of it, all the requirements and so on. Obviously, I'm not going to write the whole README file here, but the README file is supposed to get anyone up to speed if they want to download and install whatever they have to install and do whatever they have to do to get this project running. This is very short and it's not enough, but just showing you README file. Okay, and now let's do git add, git commit. Okay, added requirements, and this is still doing a weird stuff here. I think I did that, so I'm gonna just leave it for now. Okay, and what's next? Okay, so we are up to speed. These should be now changed to white because everything is being tracked. And now we can go back to GitHub. So we did this. Let's change the branch to main. So instead of calling it master, it's going to be called main, but it really doesn't matter. Now we can check git branch. Now it's called main. That's the whole change here. I think it could be just about, I never like the names master and slave. It's kind of like, why would you call anything like that? So now we are adding the remote repo to this project. Now we are linking them together. Okay, and the last thing is we need to push it. We push it because we are on our local machine here, and we push it here. Okay, and then you'll see what I mean in just 1 second. And I git push, and it says blah, 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 unable to Access denied tomorrow. Okay, that's my that's my main account. So I'm gonna just go here and go to settings, and I'm gonna go and do security, manage access here. Okay, so invite collaborator, and I'm gonna invite me, Maverick. I call myself Maverick. It's because somebody called me Maverick instead of Marek, and it was funny. Right, so now I am able to push it there. That's going to be pretty interesting, actually. Git push, boom. I probably need to, let me just go to my, yes. View invitation, accept invitation. Okay, and now I'm in. Grant. I just had to do it on my other screen. So now I just added my other account that is linked to my PyCharm. And now I'm going to try to push it again. And now it works. So I didn't plan it, but through this step, I showed you how to add a collaborator. And as you know, I'm not the owner as Marosek88. I'm not an owner of this repo, but I was still able to push my changes there because I was allowed to do so. Okay, so let's see how it looks. Let's go back to Mark's portfolio and let's see, boom, we have our, oh, there you go. This is not supposed to be here, but that's fine. That's fine. Sometimes some things slip through cracks. This is not something we want to keep, but the rest seems to be fine. And I can see my code is already here. And I can go and then see my code in here. Cool. So now if you want to download this code, this is the link to it. You can either download a zip and just put it on your computer, but obviously it's better if you initialize a Git repo somewhere and then pull or clone this as a project. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and close this project. And so I tried something here, but it didn't work. So if you're using PyCharm, obviously if you're using a terminal or anything else, you can just clone using git clone and this link and sort it out. But if you're using PyCharm, you can get it from VCS in here. You just paste it in here and you call the name. So this is by default, it's using the name of the repo. But if you want to change it, because I do have it already, I'm going to call it Mark's Portfolio 2 and clone. And what it's going to do, it's going to create a project here that it doesn't know that it's a Django project. So there are some settings that I have to set now. It's already asking me if I want to create a virtual environment. I said yes. Did I say yes? Yes, it's creating a virtual environment for me. And I'm going to use it. So it's installing it here. After it's done, there you go. And I can just open terminal and it's going to already use my event. So PyCharm helps a bit, but still you have to go to settings and set that as a Django project. But except for that, it should be working. Oh no, sorry, it already knows it's a Django project, so it works pretty well. Okay, so let me just go back to my other project, the main project. I'm just showing you that you can use this VCS. If you want to just clone from Git using Git CLI, Git clone, and then just like use the link. I already have this Mark's portfolio folder there, so I'm going to call it like test, enter, and it's cloning my repo to a folder called test. If you want to just do it this way, whatever floats your boat. If I just check here, I have this folder test that has my repo inside, so it's all in there. Okay, let me just close that and go back to my main project. The last thing I want to do in here is I'm going to just commit some changes and push some changes on a branch. So let me see what's my, currently I'm on main. So let me create a new branch, git checkout, and I'm going to create that with this B flag in here and call it, obviously you want to call it something meaningful so you know what that branch is doing, maybe have a special code for it just to be organized. That's what we do at Shutterstock. And so what I'm going to just call it silly change, and now switch to a new branch, silly change. So maybe let's go here and just print I'm silly. And so it is a change. And now I'm going to do git add all and then git commit silly as hell change. Okay, let's push that. So git push, and it gives you a line that you have to use for this. So you copy this and paste it. So I have this set upstream, blah, blah, blah. And we push that to silly change. So let's see what happens here. Let me just refresh my GitHub and see if anything changed. And if I go to, that's the views. So let's go to my finances. and views. And let's see for the line 26. Line 26 doesn't have my print. So what the hell? How can I change that? How can I get my change? Oh, sorry. I'm happy with the change. I need to merge it now. So I'm gonna go to pull requests and see if we have any, sorry. So I'm gonna go to the code and then to branches and then see, okay, silly change has been updated. I'm happy with this change. I wanna create a new pull request, which means like, hey, it's ready to be pulled to the main branch. And in here, I just say, I can leave a comment saying this is very important, blah, blah, what it does, if it requires it. If I need a reviewer, I can do that as well. I can say, hey, Marosa, can you have a look at it as well? Create a pull. And then Marosa can go in and check it and be like, okay, I'm happy with that. I'm going to do it myself because like I can. There's no mechanism that is going to block me from doing it. But basically, you know, you're a sound person. Oop. Oh yeah, I got an email saying, hey, Sugarloaf and Cup of Joe is requesting your review. I review it, merge pull, confirm merge, and now it is done. If I go back to my Marek's portfolio and go to my finances, views 26 is print I'm silly. So it's there. So the last thing I want to have a look at is doing the pull towards the local deployment. So basically in here we have our code that if I go to sleep today or leave this project for a couple of days and there are some people working on it, let's say they don't like this line and they think this silly line shouldn't be here, and I'm gonna just try to simulate that here. So I'm gonna edit that file using Github. And by the way, it's kind of nice to know that you can use Github for a quick change if it's not crucial to you know, keep certain standards or procedures. If you can just go in, it's your code, you can do whatever you want. So you can just click and edit, and let's delete that line here. And let's go down, and it does kind of like, you know, it's still a commit. You still have to call it somehow. And so let's call it, I don't know, no silliness, please. Okay, that's our commit here. And I'm changing it in main, that's fine. I don't need a branch here, commit changes. And now my local code is out of date. This shouldn't be here, and I'm, you know, after a week or whatever, I'm back and there were some major changes done to my code or our code, and I should be up to date. So first thing you do, just keep that in mind whenever you're working on a code that is being shared. Always make sure that you're pulling the code from master. First of all, never work on master or main, sorry, branch. So if you're working on a branch, let's check git branch. Right now I'm working on a silly change. That should be okay, because even if I have this here, but it doesn't affect me, so we split the job, I'm working on something completely different, that shouldn't affect me, because then I'm merging my changes to whatever changes were done before, so that should be fine. But when you want to just make sure that you're up to date, you want to do something like this. So right now if I do git pull, what happens is it says it's up to date. So let's go and do git checkout main. And here, your branch is behind origin main. And what's going to happen, it's annoying because I made the change and then I reversed it. So now it says I'm 3 commits behind, and I screwed it up because you won't see what I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another change here, just to make sure. So let's go back to main and let's make another change so we can see what I mean. Marek is the best. So I'm gonna say, yes, he is. I have a problem, don't I? Okay, and Marek needs some validation. That's a good comment. And we have it in our main. So now if I go here and do git pull, enter, it does pull something. There's some insertion, and it did find, although there were actually 4 commits that this my local main didn't see, because I went to silly branch and I made a commit and then I merged it and I did another change in here. So there were some commits that I was behind, and it did know that I am behind, but it didn't know what is exactly the change. The change was nothing, because that, you know, I made a change, then I reversed it, nothing changed. So I added this line here, and it knows that the change, indeed, there was 1 file changed with 1 insertion, and that was this line here. That, as you can see, it just appeared. It wasn't here, it wasn't on my computer, but it is now because I pulled it from main. So long story short, you always want to make sure you're up to snuff. And if you go back to your branch, so let's say you're working on your silly branch, what was the name? Git branch silly branch? No. Git branch. So silly branch is something that I just created, but I meant silly change. So I want to actually not branch, but I want to git checkout silly change. Okay. And now I'm in silly change. What's going to happen now is I'm going to click here and boom, the line is not there. So that code, whatever change was done to main, now it's not reflected in my branch that I'm working on. And I kind of want to have it there. So what I have to do is I have to do merge again. So git, oh, did I do merge? No, I didn't. So there you go. Another example, git merge. And what I'm doing, I'm sitting on silly change branch. Okay. This is where I work. And this is outdated branch. There were changes done, which is that line here, and it's a silly change, but I mean, you know what I mean. It's like there was a change done to main, and I didn't check it with main on my silly change on my local machine. So what I have to do is I have to say, hey, merge my branch that I'm sitting on with whatever changes happen to main. Okay, so give me all the changes from main to my branch. Boom, and now it said, okay, something happened. There were some deletion, some insert, so that has been deleted and that was inserted. And if I click here, you'll see that change. Print disappeared, this appeared. This line appeared. So I merged the changes, and because I didn't work on those lines, there's no clash. There's no issue with this merge. If there are two people working on the same piece of code at the same time, you would have a clash and you would have to resolve that problem. But we didn't have that here. I'm just showing you how to pull. So we made the pull request in Github. We pulled some changes from a branch to main, and then I simulated some changes in main here, and we pulled those changes to main, and then we merged those changes with the branch that we are working on, which is the silly change branch. Phew, okay, I hope it makes sense. These are the things that you will be working with when you're working in a company where you're collaborating with people, and I hope it kind of gives you a nice picture of things. Okay, so there is much more to Git, obviously, but I think this covers quite well the basics and the stuff that you need to know if you want to apply for jobs, and if they ask you about like branching and commits and pushing and merging. This video should be enough to kind of give you a taste of how it looks like and where to go to merge things and to do things. Okay, so I'm going to finish here and continue working on our My Finances app. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.